And who better to discuss this than the man himself that pronounced the ban yesterday, the Honorable Jim Muhwezi. He's the Minister for Information and National Guidance. Good morning, Honorable.
Good morning, Brian.
Joel.
Joel.
You have not been here in a very long time. Yes. You have been busy guiding the nation.
You can say that. But
all right.
You have been busy working, and there was no need for me to be here.
Well, it is important you come and you get to clarify some of these things.
Right.
You are a lawyer.
That's right.
I looked at that court order, and there were two respondents. Respondent number one was the FDC. Respondent number two was Kizza Besigye. That's the order by the Deputy Chief Justice, Justice Stephen Kavuma.
Right.
He was banning their, their defiance campaigns, even in the media. How then did Cabinet get to interpret that even we in the media get affected by that we cannot get to cover these?
The reason is simple. Is that once there is that order, which is not a ban, it's just an order. In fact, it's called an interim order. Interim up to when the Constitutional Court interprets, gives a ruling on whether defiance campaign is constitutional or not. It says in the meantime, there shouldn't be any activities concerning this campaign. It's an interim order. Now, that order is to the whole world.
How does the Ugandan court give an order to the whole world? How does that happen
in the realm? It is to all Ugandans. Everybody says, stay put, don't engage directly or indirectly in these activities until we have given a ruling. Now, what was happening was that while this order is in place, Dr. Kizza Besigye was being interviewed, and interviewed live, okay? And now with this technology now you have, you don't need to come out of Kasangati in order to mobilize. You can mobilize using, television and so on. So the order was being defied, actually, using technology. So we had to come in and inform you, the media houses, that please, if you were not aware, there is a Constitutional Court order suspending any discussion, any mobilization over this defiance campaign until the court has given a ruling.
Let's try and understand clearly what you mean by this defiance. Of course, Besigye has called it several things. He is defying what he feels, is an illegitimate government. He has talked about the election, he disputes that, and so on. On your part, because we want to be sure we're on the right side of the law.
Yes.
What is defiance? What are you calling defiance?
He's not only stopping there, he's saying he's not going to allow the president to be sworn in as president when the laws of Uganda, all of them, the Electoral Commission, the Supreme Court, have all said that there is an elected president, for the next term. Besigye is saying, no, there won't be. He's going to disrupt the swearing in of the president-elect. This is defiance. And therefore, if you allow him to continue campaigning over the airwaves, of course you are contravening the court order. No question about it.
Dr. Kizza Besigye has a different school of thought. And yesterday when I hosted the Honorable Deputy Attorney General, Muhwezi Rukutana, he said that it is not correct for you to disagree, which I found outlandish. What is wrong with somebody having a different school of thought altogether? He feels this election was rigged. He feels this government did not get into power legitimately, according to him, even though the EC did announce you and then the Supreme Court did legitimize that. And he's saying, I have a different school of thought altogether. Is there no place in this, our country, Uganda, for those that have a different school of thought, a disagreement, if you like?
There is plenty. Do you know where?
Tell me.
Courts of law. That constitution of ours and the laws that have been made under it cover everybody's interest, including someone who is agreed to a level of feeling defiant. You go to court, like Honorable Muhwezi did. Even with this court order, if you are not satisfied, you go to court. You sue or you appeal against the court order. But let us do things properly.
Honorable, as a lawyer, you know that even when a court of law rules against you, it's important that you respect the ruling,
Yes.
but you can disagree with the
Yes.
ruling.
Yes. And
So it gets back to that bit of, look, I disagree with you. I would like to express my disagreement with that. But what you seem to be saying is that we are not allowing you to even disagree. We are not allowing you to express your disagreement.
No,
and I'm
yes.
thinking, why? That sounds very totalitarian. Because you see, the more we keep pushing people to the wall, and I keep saying it is actually very possible that as government you are right.
Yes.
But again, you see, in the minds of those that oppose you, they feel you're not right, they feel they are correct. And what is wrong with them having a space where they can express their disagreement, their dissatisfaction?
The place where you express your dissatisfaction is in courts of law. Is in courts of law. There is no alternative. Otherwise, Joe and Jim cannot agree all the time. Now, should we go on the streets and fight? No. There are courts of laws to decide. And if they rule against me, I will oblige. Yeah.
You have talked about, that if you're disagreeable, you go to court. In 1980, when Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, His Excellency the President now, ran for election and he lost, he went to the bush together with you. He did not go to court.
No, he didn't.
And that was one avenue, because he felt, you know what, I'm not going to get justice in the courts of law. He went to the bush, several people died at the end of the day. Basically, he's saying, I am going to protest. And protesting is very well stipulated within our laws. You can protest peacefully. And you're saying no to that as well.
President Museveni didn't go to the bush because he lost. He went to the bush because there was rigging of the elections.
Basically says there was rigging in this election, and that is why he's actually not saying I'm going to the bush.
But he didn't even go to court.
Because he doesn't believe, according to him, he doesn't believe he would get justice
So
there. That's on the one part.
Are you saying that Besigye is doing what we did when we went to the bush?
No, you did worse. That's what I'm saying.
No,
because you went to the bush and people died.
Are you saying that he's also doing what we did in 1981?
No. I am actually looking at the two examples. You went to the bush with the guns, people died, and for him he's saying, I want to hit the streets peacefully. That's what he's saying, quoting him.
No, you can't. You can't. There is a country and there is a government and there are people. He made a constitution. There is Article 29, which gives him the rights, okay, which gives everybody freedom. But there is Article 43, which says that in exercising those rights of yours, you must not infringe on the rights of others and of the public interest. Now, government is protecting these public interests. People must be able to go about their work. They must go to school, take their children. You cannot say that I'm going to disrupt. That is not acceptable. And in this case, government didn't even stop him. It went to court to ask the Constitutional Court that his defiance campaign constitutional or not. Now, what's the problem with waiting or going to court and explaining exactly what you are trying to say on his behalf?
No, I'm simply quoting him. I don't speak for him.
Okay.
All right, let's try and understand, Honorable, what you have banned as defiance. Coverage on our part. You talked about the live coverage. I also did hear you say that we cannot carry these things in our news, that if there's a message of defiance or that kind of thing, we edit it out. Just clarify, because some think it is just the live coverage, but the rest can be good to go.
No, definitely live coverage. As you know, as media houses, you have a responsibility, okay, of what you put on the airwaves, don't you?
Absolutely.
You do, and you edit. Whether it's print, whether it's broadcast, you edit. But when it's live, you don't have that capacity because you have no window to look into his mind and know what he's going to say. So by the time it's out, it's gone. You don't control it. So to avoid that, to abide by the court order, we say, no, don't broadcast live because you have no control. And if you have no control, you are going to end up, going against the court order. That's what we are saying. Now, when you are giving news, also you must make sure that you do not again breach that order by bringing people, because the message is not alone. You say, oh, there are people on the streets. Then you cover them, then they are defying, we shall not, we shall. Now, again, you have crossed the line. So you avoid anything to do with the defiance campaign. Because it's the defiance campaign, it's not the word defiance. It's not avoiding the word defiance. It is the campaign. The campaign can be in words, can be in action, can be, in any way. So you have to avoid. So to you, as a media house, you have to take responsibility to know what amounts to a defiance campaign.
Let me give an example here. Let's say we have recorded an interview with Dr. Kizza Besigye during the day, and we're running it in our news. And in the interview, he is saying, look, I ran in this election. Yes, the Electoral Commission declared Yoweri Museveni the winner, and that was legitimized by the Supreme Court. I respect that, but I do not agree with it. There were irregularities, even as pronounced by the courts of law. We still have issues, and we want government to listen to us and address some of these things. So we don't agree that that all was smooth and dry. We still have issues. Would that be an okay bite to
But
run?
I saw you interviewing him a few days ago, and you asked him a question that he had already declared that he's not going to court. If he loses, he will not go to court. In fact, he was defiant even before the elections. And when the elections ended, he said he didn't believe in the results, but he's not going to court. So, how should he be handled?
Well, he also said he has the right to change his mind, so maybe his mind changed altogether.
So why doesn't he go to court? Why
But you've
does he
not
defy?
answered my question of that kind of bite of him saying, look, yes, they were declared the winners and so on, but we are still dissatisfied. There were issues with this election. We are not yet settled with them, and we hope this can be addressed.
Yes.
Is that defiance?
Yes.
Is that a wrong message to carry in our news?
No, if he was writing it in books, writing that he was dissatisfied, and in the next elections, he would probably win over people come 2021. That's what it is. You can't do, if you don't want to go to court, then you just wait for another period. And if you win over more people, then you win. But there is no alternative. You either go to court and the court rules in your favor, but if the Supreme Court doesn't, then you wait. What is the problem? 5 years is a short time.
We have seen countries that have developed, and many of these countries we admire. We keep wanting to be like them. But you see, what there is about these countries is there's freedom of expression, there is freedom of speech. Those that wish to oppose the status quo do so, and they're given leeway. Of course, when it becomes riotous, that's very unfortunate. But what we seem to be doing here in this country, we are clamping down heavily on those rights. We shall not allow you to hit the streets to protest, however peaceful. Now, you're even taking it a notch higher. Even if you're doing it within a confined area, you're not hitting the streets. We are not going to allow it. You're not going to pray. You're not going to do any of that. Even if you're not disrupting business on the roads and so on, you're in, like the FDC, they normally meet at their headquarters. You're saying, no, we are not even going to allow that, even if you're within a confine. You're saying to the media, we are not going to allow you to carry these messages. You cannot even host the messages of this world, but we can host you government people and so on. Doesn't that bother you that slowly but surely the space for the citizenry is narrowing down? Slowly but surely.
There is no country in the region here that has given freedom to the media and freedom of speech and so on like Uganda.
Now you're taking it away.
I'm telling you.
Why are you reversing the game?
Yeah, I'm telling you. No, we are not taking it away. We've got 269 radio stations.
Many of them owned by people like yourselves.
No.
That's the truth, Honorable.
Many of you owned by the Aga Khan.
The Aga Khan owned just one TV station in this country,
Okay.
one or two radio stations. So
And others, there are many, of course, radios owned by members of the opposition. Many radios. There are many television. We have allowed, in fact, it is coming to the point of liberalism, being complacent, allowing too much freedom. That's what is happening here. But because we have given so much, when we try now to implement what the courts have done, you think we have infringed on your rights, when actually we had given you too much, and it is still too much. There's no... you talk about our neighbors. I don't want to mention them, but we are the freest society. NRM has given the widest leeway for people to express themselves. But we are now saying that let us do it orderly. At least let's not disrupt. You are talking about praying. We know that praying is on Friday for the Muslims. It is Saturday for the seventh day. It is Sunday for other Christians. But now, if FDC has become religious, that they will pray, is it on Saturday or on Thursday? Now, is it a religion? Is it what?
What's wrong with that? Because in essence, what you're saying, I had General Kayihura saying, if you want to pray, go to a church. So I can't even pray from my home.
No. But if you
because I would like to pray on a daily basis,
you see,
not just Sunday.
You see, government's responsibility is to manage society, among other things, especially for development, for transformation. Now, if you choose to go and pray on a working day, on a Thursday, and Tuesday you are doing another thing, and this is not at the headquarters, where they could pray and they use NTV to broadcast what they are praying, but they are saying all over the country they should go to their headquarters.
What's wrong with that?
They are disrupting development. They are
no, but if as an individual I've decided today I'm not going to go to work, I'm going to stay somewhere and pray.
Joel, I talked about Article 29, which gives freedom. And now you are saying that freedom should extend to even saying people don't go to work, you go and pray. That is also freedom. That's what you are saying. Okay? That don't go to work, that is, go to pray. That is also freedom. We must come in now and say, Article 43, in public interest. It is not in public interest for you to decide when people should pray and tell them to go to pray, even when they should be in their fields, in their offices. In the public interest, the government will come in and say no.
Still sticking with that, Honorable, because you're saying it is not right for them to decide for the people. Are they deciding for the people because they call on these people, and those who willingly will remain maybe home or go to wherever it is they're praying for do so? I can't decide, for example, and ask my boss says, let me take off this particular day. I probably want to go and pray. Let me go to Prayer Mountain, or I want to do something else altogether, or I want to go and visit my parents, or that kind of thing.
Even if you
I have decided on my own. So if FDC says that those of their members that would like to gather at their headquarters, they're not going to pray from the middle of the road. They're saying you're going to meet at your headquarters, at your different offices, and pray. And those who willingly can take a day off, they can afford to
do a wrong thing
off.
Yes.
So I'm trying to understand what's wrong with that.
Okay, I will tell you. If you are making an appeal for people to do a wrong thing.
So praying is the wrong thing.
Listen. They want to disrupt, as I have explained. They want to do something which is not in the public interest. That instead of going to work, they should go and pray. Don't go to work. I'm appealing to you, don't go to work, go and pray all the time. Don't work. And they want to comply willingly. Okay? They have not been forced, but they want to listen because they are followers of Kanochiza Besigye. They also don't want to work. They want to go and pray all the time.
It's just 1 week.
Okay.
I mean, 1 day in a week.
Oh, 1 day, one by one makes a bundle. So the government has a duty to come in and say, Joel, your appeal is wrong. It is infringing Article 43, the public interest. Okay? And we go to court and say, please help us. Is what Joel is saying constitutional? Okay? And the court says, okay, we hear you, we are going to decide. But in the meantime, let there be no appeal of people not going to work. This is what is happening. And anybody really responsible should accept this, that this is the orderly way of doing things. We've gone to work at court to ask court whether defiance campaign is constitutional or not. And in the meantime, they have said halt any activities until we have decided. And I think this is orderly, this should be acceptable, this should be understood, and this should be supported.
Honorable, you're Minister for Information, and you know that media has grown beyond just TV, beyond just radio, beyond just newspapers.
Yes.
There's social media. As government, you clamped down heavily on that during election time. You felt you had good enough reasons to. You didn't explain those entirely to us. And I'm thinking, so what's going to happen? Because you see, actually people much of the time see these stories on social media and so on before they get to watch us at 9 p.m. deliver these stories to them. How are you going to clamp down on that? Somebody has their gadget and they can actually record and stream live on social media, all the defiance campaign and the like. How do you go about that?
Yesterday we were told Brazil switched off social media.
You're intending to do that here too?
When terrorists attacked France switched off social media. It was done in the UK, it was done in America, it was done in Germany. If it's in the public interest, it should be switched off. Why not? Why not?
So what's the plan now?
Public interest. No, we have not said so far. Because we know many of the citizens are responsible people. They cannot. Now that the public, you see, yesterday's conference was also to make everybody be aware that there is a court order saying that holds anything to do with the defiance campaign. That was the main purpose, but you've misinterpreted it to be clamping down on media. It is a ban. There is no ban. We were just informing everybody that there is a court order that there should be no activities concerning defiance campaign until the Constitutional Court has decided on this matter.
So does this ban also stretch, let's say, to individuals?
Yes.
One individual, Kizza Besigye, who will go onto his Facebook timeline and post.
Yes.
One individual who is probably not so much known at all or not known at all, who is an ardent fan and an ardent follower of Kizza Besigye, or the FDC, who will post on their social media accounts and so on. So what's going to happen to those?
Yes.
Because they'll post and, you know, with the defense campaign, and then people will like and people will comment and they will retweet and so on.
Please,
what are you going to do to those people? Arrest them, or what will happen?
It affects everybody, as you have explained, and please don't force us to come down to that level to you, because we have the capacity to do so. Let us be responsible citizens. Stability, peace is a responsibility of all of us, every citizen. That's why we limit our actions. We limit what we say. Even when we are here on airwaves, we are careful to choose the words which we should say and which we should not say. That's it. And when we do that, it is not limiting your freedom. Otherwise, if there were no laws, the world would be chaotic. If everybody was moving and saying and doing what they want. No. It is, when you get a right, there is also a duty. They go together. There is a right, there is a duty. And now, let us respect our courts of law. The Constitutional Court has said, stop these activities, defiance activities, until we have decided. On the other hand, if you are not satisfied, go back to court and argue your case. And if the court decides in your favor, we shall comply.
Something that has kept coming up, you see, this whole defiance campaign, and then eventually the court order they're talking about, and then the banning of the media from covering all this, it all emanates from the election, the 2016 general election. Kizza Besigye, who says he was rigged out of the election, he says he won. Well, he's yet to justify that and prove that, but he feels he won. And they are calling for an audit of the elections. Of course, you have said previously that the EC announced Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, your candidate winner, and then somebody went to court, the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court legitimized that win. And some people have reasoned and said, look, the challenge that we have on our hands is not going to be solved by the EC, like was the case, or by the courts of law, that maybe we need to open up. If you say that you won the election legitimately, why are you afraid of an audit for
the underlying word in what you have said is they are calling for an audit. How are they calling for that? How?
All right, but are you actually saying you're open to an audit? You're just bothered by the way they are calling for it?
If they call for it through courts of law and the courts say yes, you can, why not? They should. So the question is how they are doing what they are doing. They must do it within the law. Because that law, that constitution of ours, which we made, the 1995 constitution, is very, very accommodative of every situation, including Dr. Besigye and his friends. If they are aggrieved, there are avenues they should follow in order to address their concerns. That's all. That's all we are saying. Do it according to the law.
I thought that on your part, if you won, you want to show Kizza Besigye and these opposition fellows and give them a bloody nose. Show because you won the election and you want to prove it to them so that everybody that's making noise wherever they're making it from on social media, they get to, so to speak, shut up. We won the election, and so we're even open for an audit of sorts so that you really get to see. We are not worried at all about anything. We feel we are clean on your part, and so it's okay. But until you actually get the last nail.
But which audit? The audit was done by the authorized body, which is the Electoral Commission. It did, it audited, it counted, it balanced, it declared that candidate YK Museveni got almost 6 million, and Dr. Besigye got 3 million or something like that, 2 million something. That's the authorized body to audit, to count. Those who were not satisfied went to court. And the Supreme Court decided unanimously, all the 9 judges unanimously said there was an election, it was well done, and the candidate Yoweri Museveni won the election. So what else should we do? If you sit in your house and you say, I'm not satisfied, I don't want to go to court, instead of people going to work, they should go and pray, and what? I don't want. Is that acceptable? Shall we have a country to govern and to develop? We can't.
Those very systems that you are saying, and again, I don't speak for him, I have heard him say, he does not believe in the Electoral Commission because of the way it's appointed. It's appointed by a candidate, your candidate in this case, who eventually became president. And then the Supreme Court also says is dissatisfied with that. A good number of those have politically been aligned to the NRM and so on. And so he feels No, they're not neutral enough.
No.
They are biased according to him. And that is why he feels,
Those
you know what?
people-
Can we take it away from these people, even if actually the law mandates them to do that job? And I thought, on your part, if you feel
Joel.
you won, you're saying, that's okay.
Joel.
We want to prove to you that we actually beat you hands down.
That body, the Electoral Commission, is appointed according to the provisions of the Constitution, which Kano Chiza Besigye made. They are not handpicked by President Museveni. President Museveni follows the Constitution. He identifies people, presents them to Parliament, they are approved, and they take up their job. So it cannot be a one man's choice. It is the executive and the Parliament. That's the law. What should we do? Is Kano Chiza Besigye above the Constitution? Why should we leave the constitutional provisions to satisfy one individual? Why?
There has been calls for talks between the opposition and government, and we have had each side saying we are open to it, and then there are conditionalities and the like. Is that something that is in the works with the Minister for Information, so you can inform us? Is it something that you're working on? Is it something that government is open to?
Certainly. Don't you know? NRM is known for talking to even pillars like Kony. Don't you remember? When the Right Honorable Prime Minister went to Sudan for months trying to talk to Kony, discussion is headed. Yeah, government would be ready to discuss with anybody, anytime.
Does it in any way bother you, as a member of the NRM, that increasingly there is quite a bit of discontent? In 1986, when Yoweri Kaguta Museveni came through as president, there was this exuberance around the city and around the country. In 1996, when he first conducted elections, he won overwhelmingly and everybody was excited. Right now, the narrative seems to be changing. There's a lot of discontent. You see it, you feel it, you hear it, you read it. Does that not in any way send a signal to you that maybe there are some things that we need to tweak? That maybe we have danced on this stage for quite a bit of time, we have danced fairly well, maybe we should leave this stage.
Do you know the thermometer of this? Periodic elections.
And exactly, even with the periodic
So we have
election,
been there in 2016, and the announcement, the pronouncement is that over 60% people think we are still doing the right things. Come 2021, we shall again go there. If what you suspect was to be true, it will be reflected then. We will get less than 50, and then we will bow out.
Yeah, but the point really was trying to draw your attention to is, does it in any way tweak you to think a certain way? Because you see, you've talked about 60%, in 1996 it was 75%, it's going down. If you have been making things a lot better, maybe it should be shooting up.
No, we know the reasons. We know them.
What are some of those?
Some of them the youth, unemployment, for example. We need industries. We need jobs for the youth. Because we have educated so many, we are churning out so many people from our many universities that have flourished because of our good policies. People are coming out, but they don't have jobs. That's one. Two is household income of the people. Wealth creation. We need to concentrate on that so that people have wealth and so on and so forth. Once we address those things and a few others, the numbers will come back to 90 to 100%.
You have promised as a government that by 2021, Uganda is going to be metamorphosed into a middle-income...
2019
is going to happen.
Yes.
How exactly is this going to happen? You've talked about unemployment. 83% of our young people are unemployed. Uganda's GDP per capita is the lowest in this region. At $670 US. In Tanzania, it is $700. In Kenya, it's 1,290. We are trailing.
According to the Western formula, we don't think so.
Do you think it is what?
Oh, it's much better. In Uganda here, people are okay. There is no one
Are
who
they?
goes hungry. Yes, they are okay compared even to our neighbors, whom I don't want to mention. They are okay, but the formula they use is wrong. So, but we are doing the right things. We are going to transform this country from a peasant society to a middle income society.
Doesn't that bother
Yeah,
you when you
yeah.
say that we are going to transform this
Yeah.
country 30 years later?
He.
And you're saying
Do you know
we
where
are
we
going
started?
to
Do you,
transform?
do you know when you are in a ditch and you are filling the hole with soil and you are coming up, before you reach the surface, no one will see that you are actually coming up. We came from a deep, deep hole. And there is no question about it. You know the statistics, how we found this economy. We are collecting 5 billion shillings. We are now collecting trillions. This is development, no question about it. So if we, with these wonderful programs, with the infrastructure, with the electricity that is reaching all corners of the country, with the definitely Uganda is going to take off. We are going to come to a middle income country. No question about it. We are at takeoff.
We are at takeoff. 30 years later, we are just at takeoff.
Yes. Do you know?
Singapore, let's use the example of Singapore.
Mm.
Within a period, Singapore, by the way, there was a time when we were at the same level. In fact, there was a time we were better than them. I'm sure you know that.
I know, 65.
And somebody got to take charge of power and they began to crack down heavily on certain things. They cracked down heavily on corruption. They began to make systems work. Things that we're having challenges with here. And before 30 years could elapse, Singapore became a first world country from a third world country. Here in Uganda, it's a different situation altogether. 30 years later, we are still grappling. There's lots of corruption. Systems are failing to work. Just after you won, the Honorable Prime Minister called a press conference at his office, and as he wound up, he said that join us as we work together to transform Uganda from a backward economy to a prosperous economy. And I thought, wait a minute. 30 years later, we are still talking about backward economy.
No, we are talking about taking off now. It is true, we haven't, crossed over to middle income, so you can say we are still on the other side. Although even the other side has got levels, but for us, we are on top. We are at the crossing point. But I want to tell you that Singapore, there are some advantages of smallness, by the way. It is a small country. We are a much, much bigger country.
Burundi is also a small country, but as you can see, they are having many challenges.
Precisely.
So again, small is not necessarily the advantage.
Yeah, but I mean, when you are taking the right policies, like Singapore did, like we did, you can achieve it faster than a bigger country. But also, we have been liberal, we have been too democratic. Those people in Singapore, they had full control for quite some time, a number of years, full control. But for us here, we came, there were pressures of democratization, we have democratized. Now we want even to reach a point of saying, of anarchism. They are saying, let everybody do what he or she wants, Those things delay. You see, I can tell you the year of electioneering, okay? And the year after elections, those years are not productive, in my opinion.
So we should scrap elections and then
say
these are my rules
no, these are
very long time?
No, it is for us to sit down and examine, by the way, at some point. 2 years are wasted in elections. 2 years is, when you count, 2 years, we have had how many elections? Maybe 6. Those are 12 years non-productive that we are in elections. You can see, imagine if we are now talking about development, how to create wealth. We are now busy talking whether VC should defy or should not defy. Now, is that development? Does that bring food on our table? So you can imagine if our efforts, your brilliant ideas, we are concentrating on how to create more jobs, how would be moving forward. So we have really in the spirit of satisfying everybody, we are wasting a lot of time. Singapore did not have this kind of debate, I can tell you.
Maybe that is why we are trying to make sure we remove the debate. You're the Minister for Information and National Guidance. What's your final message to the nation?
My message is that we have finished an election. We are now going into another term of 5 years. Let us put the elections behind. Let us concentrate on work. 2, if there is anybody who is dissatisfied, let him or her use the right channels of the law and have matters settled through courts of law. Let us not have acrimony, fighting over things that can be sorted out in a civilized manner and in accordance with the law. Let us move on and concentrate on transforming our country from a peasant society into a developed middle-income country.
Honorable Muhwezi, thank you for talking to us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Coming up is My Opinion.